Hey there, for Niners faithful! Welcome back to the channel, where we keep you up to speed on everything happening with our beloved San Francisco 49ers. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash the like button so you never miss any breaking news, exclusive updates, or in-depth analysis about the Niners. Seriously, subscribing is the best way to stay locked in on all the action as we get closer to the season. And you don't want to be left out when things start heating up around the Bay. Alright, now that that's out of the way, let's jump right into it. First things first, I want to talk about the 49ers' recent signing of Equanimeous St. Brown. Now, I gotta admit, when I first heard the news, the reaction from the fans around me was a bit quieter than I expected. Not a ton of cheers or loud excitement. It felt a little muted, like people were unsure about what to make of this move, and honestly, that's understandable. St. Brown isn't exactly a household name when you think about star wide receivers in the league, and there's no crazy hype or clickbait around this signing. This isn't about the 49ers suddenly snagging the best wideout in the NFL or some kind of blockbuster addition. No, this is a genuine, straightforward move. They've signed a depth guy, a player who's here to fill out the roster and hopefully contribute in some way. That said, I do have some optimism I want to share about this signing. So hang tight because I'm going to dive into that a bit later in this video. But before I do, I really want to hear what you think about it. Drop a comment below and let me know your take on Equanimeous St. Brown joining the Niners. Do you think this is a smart move? Do you believe he can carve out a meaningful role? Or are you skeptical and feel like this is just a placeholder signing that won't amount to much? Whatever your thoughts, I'm genuinely interested in hearing from all of you, especially since the signing wasn't met with the kind of fanfare we usually see with some other player additions. Moving on, it's the first day of training camp, and as always, there's a lot to unpack. So, I want to hear all your reactions, not just about St. Brown, but about everything going on with the team right now, from player performances to roster battles, to the trade rumors swirling around the team. And speaking of trades, let's dig into the latest developments there, especially regarding Jawan Jennings, because that's been one of the hottest topics lately. I'm actually feeling really positive about the direction things are headed with Jennings. Honestly, I was a bit nervous last week about how this whole situation was going to shake out. There were so many unknowns and a lot of concern about whether this trade talk would drag on or blow up in the 49ers' faces. I shared those concerns with you all recently, but now, seeing how things are progressing, I'm much more optimistic. The biggest piece of news that came out today, and maybe the most important thing we learned, is that Jawan Jennings has actually reported to training camp. Not only that, but he passed his physical, which is a big step, and he's expected to practice as early as tomorrow. And here's the kicker. Kyle Shanahan confirmed that Jennings has not formally asked for a trade. This is huge. Let me explain why. When you think about the drama we saw last offseason with Deebo Samuel formally requesting a trade, and all the tension that created, the fact that Jennings hasn't gone that route is a major sign of good faith. It suggests that the relationship between the player and the team might still be intact at some level, even if there's some dissatisfaction floating around. Now, I want to be clear, just because Jennings hasn't made a formal trade request doesn't necessarily mean he's completely content or that he's abandoning the idea of a trade. There's always the possibility that he or his agent might still be pushing behind the scenes. In fact, Adam Schefter reported that Jennings wants to be traded, or at least wants a new deal. And that kind of information almost certainly comes from Jennings' camp or agent. So, it's very possible that while it's not formalized, that desire exists, but from an official standpoint, no formal request is on the table, which is a positive. What also adds to the optimism is an interview clip I want to share with you. Kyle Shanahan spoke about how this whole situation is just business. That's the key takeaway. Shanahan stressed that there's no drama here, just the realities of NFL business. He talked about how he loves Jennings and the feeling is mutual. They all want to figure this out. Shanahan also mentioned Colton McKivitz being in a similar spot contract-wise, which means there are a couple of these situations the 49ers need to resolve, but are handling with professionalism. That's a marked difference from how some past situations were handled. If you remember, the way the team dealt with Brandon Ayuk last year was messy and left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouths, especially with the holdout and the timing of the contract talks. But this feels different. It feels more mature. There's mutual respect and everyone's trying to do the right thing. John Lynch, too, weighed in earlier and called Jennings the perfect example of a 49er, a true pro, who loves the organization. Lynch emphasized that everyone wants Jennings here, and that they're confident the situation will be worked out. So, again, this is encouraging news that points toward a peaceful resolution, rather than a messy breakup. Now, circling back to Equanimeous St. Brown, here's a little bit more context on him. Over the course of his NFL career, he's had 63 receptions for 928 yards and 2 touchdowns across 60 games. These numbers don't jump off the page. They reflect a player who's been more of a role player than a star, but what St. Brown brings to the table is intriguing athleticism. He's 6'5", which is huge for a wide receiver. He also ran a 4.40-yard dash time before the draft, which shows he has the speed and size combination that's rare and valuable. Plus, the bloodline is interesting. His brother, Amon-Ra St. Brown, has proven himself to be a dynamic receiver in the league with the Detroit Lions. So, you can't help but wonder if there's some untapped potential there. The key question is who can unlock that potential, and if there's any team I trust to develop wide receivers and maximize their talents. It's the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan. Kyle's track record with wide receivers is impressive. He's known for putting his receivers through tough but rewarding drills and schemes, demanding a high level of work and effort. The coaching and leadership in that wide receiver room have historically brought out the best in players, even those who weren't high-profile stars coming in. I will say, though, I'm still figuring out how Brandon Ayuk fits in that leadership dynamic after his contract drama last year. But setting that aside, this is a coaching staff and environment that knows how to get the most out of their wideouts. Kyle Shanahan also made it clear that the 49ers needed to add depth at the receiver position. He talked extensively about wanting to have 12 receivers in training camp because that's how he likes to run things. Having 12 gives the team the ability to test different players, create competition, and cover for injuries or fatigue during practice. St. Brown was signed with that specific purpose in mind, as a depth player to fill out the roster. This means there's a real opportunity for him to make an impact if he can show what he's capable of during camp and preseason. I'm not here to hype St. Brown up as the next breakout star, but I am excited that the team found a player with the right physical tools and potential to compete for a spot. It's a low-risk, potentially rewarding move, and knowing Kyle Shanahan and the front office, they wouldn't bring someone in unless they saw something worth exploring. To wrap up this part, I also want to share a clip from Mike Tannenbaum on ESPN, who recently gave some thoughts on the 49ers. He mentioned St. Brown but also talked broadly about the roster strengths. Tannenbaum pointed out that Christian McCaffrey, when healthy, is arguably the best running back in the league outside of Saquon Barkley. He noted that George Kittle is still well within his prime, and that Brandon Ayuk should return at some point this season. And when he talked about the receiving corps, he included St. Brown among the group of weapons on the team alongside Jacob Cowing and others. He also emphasized the importance of having a very good quarterback, solid coaching, and a strong offensive line led by Trent Williams. Overall, he painted a bullish picture of the team's potential this year, which I think many of us can get behind. So, that's the update for now. There's plenty more to cover: injury updates, more on the roster, and how things are shaping up for the upcoming season. But before we go any further, drop your thoughts on the signing of Equanimeous St. Brown and the whole Jawan Jennings situation. I'm eager to hear what you all think. Let's keep the conversation going, because this is just the start of what should be an exciting and unpredictable 49ers season. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to 49ers Zone and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the San Francisco 49ers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. Whispers and speculation are swirling around Santa Clara this week, as the San Francisco 49ers find themselves at the heart of a growing controversy. Star running back Christian McCaffrey, the undisputed centerpiece of the team's offense, has reportedly been suspended due to a doping violation, a revelation that, if confirmed in its full extent, could deal a serious blow to the 49ers' Super Bowl aspiration. The official statement released by the organization confirmed the suspension, but offered little in the way of clarity, leaving room for interpretation and fueling rampant speculation. While no details have been made public regarding the nature of the banned substance or the duration of the suspension, insiders suggest this may not be a one-off incident. Some within league circles are even murmuring about potential appeals or further investigation. suggesting this may only be the beginning of a larger storm. For a team that came into the offseason riding high after a deep playoff run, the timing couldn't be worse. McAffrey's explosiveness and versatility have been crucial to Kyle Shanahan's offensive scheme, and his absence could significantly reshape the team's dynamics. Questions are already emerging about who might step up in his absence. Elijah Mitchell and Jordan Mason are names being floated, but neither brings the same game-changing presence as McAffrey. League insiders are cautiously watching how this plays out. Some believe the 49ers might look to bring in a veteran replacement, while others suggest Shanahan may tweak his scheme to rely more on the passing game, with Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. But no matter how it's spun, the loss of McAffrey, even temporarily, throws a wrench into the team's finely tuned machine. Though nothing has been definitively ruled out or confirmed beyond the suspension itself, the situation has all the makings of a season-altering drama. Whether this becomes a temporary bump in the road or a full-blown derailment remains to be seen. One thing's for sure, the air around Levi's Stadium is thick with uncertainty. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the San Francisco 49ers, make sure to subscribe to 49ers Zone and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.